Hi there, gorgeous, and a very happy Friday to you. Frugal Fridays will return next week, but today's video is a life update and a Q&A based on questions you have asked me on Twitter and Instagram, because I asked recently, what are some things that you'd like to know about me? I like to do these every now and then so that you get to see the personal side of me, and typically I don't film them in my studio, to be honest with you, because I like to be in more of a relaxed atmosphere with videos like this, but our house is filled with people today, so this is not possible. But I'm going to be sharing pictures of the kids with you, giving you updates on them. I get asked quite often how they're doing, milestones, etc. So we'll talk about that, and yeah. Everything is a mess in front of me, so it's a little hard for me to concentrate. Working on a video at the moment of dupes for some of the best-selling Charlotte Tilbury makeup products, and so my table is completely filled right now with nothing but dupes and Charlotte Tilbury, so that video will probably be coming next Friday. So how am I doing? I'm doing pretty good. No cause for complaint. Hope you're doing well also. Jett and Gia are doing fantastic. They are starting to interact with one another, which is the most adorable thing ever. She started sitting up just recently, within the past 3 weeks or so. So now that she's sitting up, she's wanting to play with Jett much more. But it's really cute because he will be playing with his toys in one area of the room, and she'll crawl over to where he is and try to play with him. And he's like, no, no. But of course with Jett, everything is mine. That's our new favorite word. So when Gia is playing with a toy, mine, or yeah, anything that Gia has is mine. So we're trying to start with the whole sharing, teaching right now, which that's interesting. We were having some issues with Jett speaking, and we had an appointment scheduled with a speech therapist, which we canceled recently, only because he just started talking out of nowhere, and I really honestly think he's a late talker. He just really didn't have much to say. Now he is speaking in 2-word sentences and communicating much more, and ever since he started communicating so much, the temper tantrums have lessened. He's much happier, and I knew, based on my last update video I did on the kids when I was talking about Jett and how many struggles we were having with him, I knew that he was frustrated because he couldn't communicate what he wanted. So to see him being able to ask now for things and be able to say what he wants and what he means, he's enjoying it much more, which I'm really happy to see. And Gia just clapped for the first time 3 days ago. It was so cute. I've been working on it with her, and all of a sudden she just started. Amazing how they pick things up. One of the really cute things that happened the other day with Jett was I was starting to clean the floors, and we have one of those Hoover floor mate machines that basically mops the floors for you, and it had gotten clogged, so I had tipped it over and was trying to clean out the clog, and it was nothing but cat hair had gotten all up in there. So I'm pulling out these clumps, and Jett came over and he looked at me and he says, "What happened?" I about died. It was so cute. And I just talked to him like you and I would speak, and I said, well, machine got clogged and Mama has to clean it out. It's got all this yucky hair in it. And he looked at it, he said, ew. Get to some of your questions. I asked on Twitter and Instagram if you had any questions for me. If I felt comfortable answering them, I absolutely would. I can't get through every single question, but I'm going to try to answer as many as possible. So the first one comes from Lynn's Morningstar. She says, I have 2 questions. One is, do you miss doing other people's makeup? And the other is, how do or did you cope with losing your dad? My dad is terminally ill and I'm dreading losing him. And Lynn, my heart goes out to you. It really does. I'm so sorry that you are in that situation right now, and just know that I'm keeping you in prayer. To answer your first question, do I miss doing other people's makeup? Sometimes, and I'll get asked by friends every now and then to do makeup for bride, you know, for weddings that friends are having and whatnot. And I enjoy it, but there are certain things I don't miss about it. I mean, I rather enjoy doing what I'm doing here. We have a bug zapper in the garage, so if you hear it going off, that's what it is. So yes and no. I mean, I really love what I do here. Let's just put it that way. And coping with my dad, it's been hard. I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's been easy. It's not. It's been a hard road. I mean, I watched a video of him the other night with me as a baby, not as a baby, as a toddler, and just cried because I just miss him. I miss so much about him. And I think one of the things I've never really communicated on YouTube is that because my relationship with my mom isn't ideal, my dad was always like my dad and my mom. He was. So when I lost him, it was like losing two parents. And I think that's what's been the most difficult for me, is that I don't have that anymore. And one of the things that's really helped me, honestly, is talking about it. And my husband has been extremely supportive, even though he can't identify because he hasn't lost his parents. But he's been, I mean, he was close with my dad, so he felt the hurt too. And all I can tell you is one of the things that really helped me was actually a suggestion by several of my subscribers, actually. And they said, when you miss your dad, and we have lawnmowers now, lovely. When you miss your dad, pray to Jesus. Ask Jesus to deliver a message to your loved one. And every time I miss him or I want to tell him something, that's what I do. I'll pray to Jesus to say, especially after Gia was born and I wanted my dad to know, I prayed to Jesus and I asked him to deliver a message to my dad, letting him know Gia was born and she was beautiful and all that. And that brought me great comfort. It still is something that I do, so I would recommend that. Absolutely, it does help. This next question comes from Pamela. She says, your hair is gorgeous. Thank you so much. Do you ever think of cutting it shorter? You know, I tried that whole short hair thing when I was a teenager and it didn't work out so well. My hair texture is such that the shorter it gets, the curlier and frizzier it gets. I mean, yeah, look at this. And I find that the longer it gets, the easier it is to not only take care of, but I can put it in a ponytail, I can throw it back. If I have a bad hair day, it's not a problem. Whereas if I have shorter hair, it's much more work. So that's why I keep my hair long personally. Next question comes from Christina. She says, will you be doing any more historically accurate looks? Yes, I'm actually working on one this weekend, and it's an 80s Dynasty Look based off of Joan Collins' character Alexis Carrington. It should be rather fun, and I'm going to have all kinds of facts thrown into the video about the show Dynasty and possibly Joan Collins. I haven't really decided yet, but that's been one of those really highly requested kinds of videos for me to do, was on that Dynasty kind of makeup. So I'm really excited about that one. I don't know when it will publish because typically those videos are really monstrous to edit, so it may be a couple weeks from now, but I am working on it. Next question comes from Nancy. She asks, were you a model? I was when I was much younger, and it's not really an industry I recommend getting into. I've been told I should get my kids into modeling, and I'm like, absolutely not. So I didn't do it that long. There's more bad than there is good in that industry, unfortunately. Next question comes from Suzanne. She asks, what's your strategy to film as you have 2 little kids? And do you have a room you use just for filming? Love you and your channel. Thank you so much. Yes, I do. I actually have an entire room to myself. And I've mentioned this before, and I know it sounds really weird when I say this, but I'm in the garage. My husband actually took time to build out one portion of our garage, and it is an actual room with air conditioning and everything else. If you walked in here, you wouldn't even know it was a garage. And I love it because it is separate from the house. I used to be in the house in one of the rooms, and it was getting much harder with Jett because he knew I was in there and he would knock on my door, mama, mama, mama. And so being out here allows me to really focus and maintain where I'm going. And what I do a lot is I always make lists when I have video ideas, when I have a schedule I want to maintain, and that really helps me. I'll always write out what videos I'm filming today, and I like to be able to check them off. Some days I don't check all of them off, but if I put those goals out, I am more likely to achieve them than not. Next question comes from Shai. She says, I'm curious about how being a mom of 2 is. Have you settled into the routine well? I'm currently pregnant with baby number 2, and I'm not sure how I'll do it. Well, first of all, congratulations to you, Shai, and let me tell you right now, don't worry, okay? You're going to be fine. There is a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning, as with anything, but you can do it. It's not a big deal. Now, with 2 under 2, it was very challenging for me, I will tell you that. It took me about a month to really get accustomed to having these 2 babies because Honestly, Jett was still a baby at that time. And once I figured out how to prioritize, it got a lot easier. And what I mean by that is, let's say Gia pooped and Jett just wanted to be held. Well, I would go to my head and say, hey, well, the poop is more important. I got to get the poop off the baby, and Jett can wait. So I would take the poop off of her. Now, if Jett was hungry and Gia just wanted to be held, obviously Jett wins because he needs to eat. And that still is the way that I parent now with the two of them and try to assess their needs. Now, there have been times when they both have the same thing going on where they both have high priority items, and you just have to really kind of pay attention to the one who's crying louder. I know that's really bad, but you only have so many hands. You can only do so much. And it's typically when they're both hungry at the same time, because they've started to get on the same schedule together. And Jett is a little more patient now, but Gia is not so patient. So I try to get to her first and Jett second. Another question comes from Beauty Bulletins. She asks, how did you become a believer and how does it affect your everyday life? I always have been. There's not been one moment in my life, honestly, when I've ever questioned the existence of God. I know he exists. I have felt his presence. I have prayed for things and had them happen like that. Not all the time. I mean, there have been prayers I've asked for and I have never gotten the yes to any of those, and that's okay. I understand later why I was never given the green light, and I'm very appreciative, by the way. I could tell you so many stories, so many, of how God has been in my life and made his presence known and things that he's done and ways he has moved. And let's just say I have a lot of testimonies that have really strengthened my faith, and I would never doubt his existence for a minute. How does it affect my everyday life? It's honestly, I think about God all the time. And I know that may be hard for some people to believe, but it's true. I'm constantly thinking of him in my head, praying, and trying to spend as much time with him as I can. Next question comes from Maya. She says she's curious about my childbirth experiences. Her mom almost died giving birth to her 36 hours in labor. I'm so sorry to hear that. And her stories have made me terrified of giving birth. I'd say so. But her partner and her want kids. How do you mentally prepare yourself? You're welcome to see the birth stories I did on Jett and Gia if you would like more information about my personal stories with them, and they are on this channel. I will just tell you that all fear is the unknown. Once you're educated and you get rid of the questions, you start to lose the fear. I will just tell you that up front. One of the things that really helped me was a recommendation from a friend when I was pregnant with Jett, and she told me to watch The Business of Being Born, which is a documentary that you can find on Netflix. And it was all about midwives and all of the lies that we are told by doctors and just how hospitals are, I'm not going to get into it, but I would just tell you it was one of the most eye-opening documentaries for me, and it really helped to alleviate a lot of the fear that I had. After I watched that, I felt much more confident about giving birth to Jett, and that's why I chose the midwife route that I have done with him and Gia, and I wouldn't regret it at all. So I would highly recommend that, but definitely educate yourself. That will take away a lot of the fear. One of the other questions she asked was, what are the funniest things your children have said and done? Can't really speak to that about Gia so much yet, because her personality is just starting to show through. But Jett, I'm telling you what, he is such a class clown. He's going to be the one that I'm going to get notes about, sent home from school. I can see it now. You know, he's my dad. He is a prankster. I can see it. It was so funny because when we were interviewing our current nanny, she was sitting in a living room and she put her purse on the floor, and Gia was with my husband and Jett was playing in the vicinity of where we were, and then all of a sudden they got very quiet and we're wondering, where's Jett? What happened? Typically that's not a good sign. And there's Jett. In her purse, he had pulled out all of her makeup and was putting it on. Thankfully, she was such a good sport about it. She just laughed. She thought that was the cutest thing in the world. And it was. I mean, because he comes into my studio and he'll walk out with everything that I have on my table on his face practically. Needless to say, we hired her. She's a wonderful lady. She's not here that often in the week. She's here enough so I can work, but yeah, he's a little stinker, let me tell you. Next question comes from Victoria. She asks, how do you manage to keep a strong relationship with God when life is constantly keeping you on your toes? It's a very good question. It's hard. It really is. And there was a period of time there, especially after I had Jett and Gia, where I wasn't being with the Lord as much as I would have liked to have been. And I felt really guilty about that. But one of the things I started doing personally that helped me was I have this app on my phone called Bible IS. I think that's what it's called. Yes, Bible.is. And it basically reads the Bible to you out loud. And so when I'm getting ready for videos or I'm editing a video, I'm in the car, I'm always playing the Bible app. I'm listening to something. So I have the words of the Bible being fed to me throughout the day intermittently. And I don't watch TV. That's one thing I have cut out of my life since Jett came into my life. And I find that that actually frees up a lot of time for me. I mean, I'm busy. I have 2 businesses I operate. I have a husband that I need to spend time with, 2 kids that I spend time with, dinner to cook, house to clean, laundry to do, all that stuff. So it is hard to fit God in, but that Bible app has really helped me to do that. And at the end of the night, I'll try to reserve like 30 minutes to an hour where I do nothing but read the Bible or pray or worship God. And that's how I have been connecting with him and making sure that I do get that time with him. This next question comes from Tavarez Gal. She says, what's your favorite thing to do when you get time to relax? What's that? Baths, honestly. I like to light candles, play music, and just soak in the tub, and that really helps to relax me. It's been something I've done since I was a teenager. And this last question, let's answer this one, comes from Dahlia. She says, what's your best childhood memory, or do you have a top memory? Let's see. I think my most favorite childhood memory was when my parents took me and my sister on vacation to Sanibel Island, which is only an hour and a half from where I am currently here in Florida. And it was my first time going to Florida. I remember palm trees. I think I was 7 at the time. And we went out swimming on the sandbar. I remember seeing manta rays underneath my feet and climbing up my dad's back and being so afraid of the manta rays because I thought they were going to get me. And he kept trying to educate me and tell me, no, they're fine. And you just have to be real gentle around them. And I remember he picked up a starfish straight out of the ocean, flung it, and it just went. But that was such a fun vacation. It was actually the first time I remember seeing the music video for Hold On by Wilson Phillips. That really dates me, but that was a song I really loved when I was a kid. And it was just a great vacation. It was the only real vacation I remember taking with us as a family. And I think that's why I hold it so near and dear. And that's why I love Sanibel Island to this day so much. It means it was the last time that we were together because my parents got divorced a year later. So yeah. Well, this video is probably a lot longer than I had originally intended it to be, but nevertheless, I hope that you enjoyed it and enjoyed getting to know me a little bit more. Thank you to everyone who sent their questions in. I'm really sorry that I couldn't answer every single one of them, but thank you again. I want to wish you a wonderful weekend ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again on Monday.